Robin is a rare canary monster, but her husband Timothy is a ferocious lynx goblin. However, Timothy didn't marry Robin because he loved her. Instead, he wanted Robin to lay priceless golden eggs. To get the priceless golden eggs as soon as possible, Timothy tied Robin to a chair every day. Then he used a machine to feed her special food to speed up the golden eggs development. The process was hard to watch. One day, Timothy was making food for Robin when a lost Nick suddenly knocked on the door. He couldn't find his cabin at the resort. As the two talked, the sound of something breaking suddenly came from inside the house. Timothy sensed Robin's attempt to ask for help. He immediately turned into his lynx goblin form and warned her. Little did he know, Nick was a monster hunter and had already seen through his lynx goblin identity. But Nick didn't reveal his identity. Instead, he followed Timothy's directions to his resort cabin. Meanwhile, Juliet in the car noticed Robin leaning against the window. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and fear, while Timothy coldly pulled her back into the house. Juliet realized they were definitely not a normal couple. Sure enough, as Juliet was about to have a candlelit dinner with Nick, she saw Timothy outside the window grabbing Robin, trying to force her back inside. Juliet quickly told Nick that Robin might be suffering from domestic violence. Nick was a police officer, but since they weren't in Portland, the best thing to do now was call the local police. At this time, Robin had already been firmly tied to the chair by Timothy. Because Robin refused to eat the high-protein food her husband prepared, he had to use the machine to force-feed it into her stomach. It was clear that Robin had endured this torture more than once. As the machine kept running, her pain was unimaginable. Soon after, the sheriff who received the call arrived. He stated that he had received an emergency call about a domestic dispute here and requested to enter the house to check. Seeing the sheriff enter, Nick and Juliet finally felt relieved. But what they didn't expect was that the sheriff stayed in Timothy's house for only 1 minute before leaving. He didn't take Timothy, the abuser, away either. Later, Timothy stared fiercely in the direction of Nick's resort cabin. It seemed he already knew Nick had made the call. The next day, Robin took the chance of going grocery shopping with Timothy to ask her friend David to help her escape. David knew how ferocious Timothy was. He agreed to help Robin only after asking for a high reward. As it happens, Juliet and Nick also came to the supermarket to shop. Juliet knew Robin definitely needed help, so she told Robin that Nick was a police officer and she could call Nick if she needed help. The suspicious Timothy saw them talking and immediately called Robin away. Only then did Juliet realize that it wasn't that Robin didn't want to ask for help. Instead, Timothy watched her too closely, and she had no chance at all. When Robin was checking out, she ran into David again, thinking she would soon escape this place. Robin got too emotional and accidentally showed her true form as a canary monster. This scene was just seen by Nick. It was the first time Nick had seen such a strange monster, so he quickly contacted Eddie to ask about it right away. When Eddie heard about a bird with golden feathers, he immediately knew what Nick had seen was a canary. In the monster world, canaries are extremely rare. That's because during their lifetime, a huge thread-like thing grows in their throat sac, like an egg, and it's priceless. After hearing Eddie's words, Nick also understood Timothy's purpose. Soon, the time Robin and David had agreed on was approaching. She poured a bag of sleeping pills into Timothy's tea, then pretended to be nonchalant and started knitting a sweater beside him. However, before Timothy could drink it, he suddenly received a call from a friend asking for urgent help. After Timothy left, Robin was extremely excited. It was as if the dawn of regaining freedom was right in front of her. Then she immediately picked up her backpack to meet David. When Nick and Juliet saw this, they worried something would happen to Robin, so Nick followed her right away. By this time, David had already arrived at the meeting place in advance. Suddenly, he noticed a pair of shiny eyes staring at him in the woods. Immediately after, Timothy turned into his lynx goblin form and attacked him quickly. Soon, Robin also arrived here, but little did she know that David had been killed by her husband. It turned out that Timothy had long sensed Robin's escape plan. He deliberately came out early to get rid of David, aiming to make Robin completely give up the idea of escaping. When Nick caught up, he only saw David's body in the car, while Timothy and Robin were nowhere to be found. Nick immediately called the police, then rushed to Robin's house quickly. After Timothy got home, he tied Robin up again. Unlike usual, the golden egg in Robin's throat was almost mature. It only needed one more feeding to be ready for extraction. However, Timothy didn't expect that Nick would suddenly appear at this moment. At the same time, he also saw through that Nick was a monster hunter.